Hey everybody, it's Aliza Hendon here, your health, life, and transformation coach. I help women to be their healthiest selves by not only focusing on the outer work, like what to eat, how to eat, what foods are right for your body, managing stress, etc., but also by helping them to have the right mindset that's going to support them having this lifestyle that they want and actually keep it going for the rest of their life. So I want to welcome you guys to Weekly Wednesday Wisdom and wish you a happy Wednesday. And today's topic, we're going to talk all about coping with chaos. Okay, this is definitely something I know a lot about. Being a wife, having 3 little kids, running 2 businesses, I definitely know a thing or two about chaos, and I'm sure you guys watching also do. Chaos is inevitable, and it's something that we can't avoid. So the question is, what do we do with it and how do we handle it? So in today's video, we're going to talk about some really practical, powerful ways to help deal with chaos in a healthy way. So before we get into that, I just first want to mention that a lot of the stuff we're talking about here is based on this book called Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. She's fantastic. It's been out for some time, but I'm just now reading it, and it's a really empowering, awesome book, especially if you are a mom, a woman, a wife, entrepreneur, any of those things. It's a fantastic book. So we're gonna first start talking about chaos, right? So like we said, chaos is inevitable. We all do it and we can't escape it. So how do we handle it? So I wanna first talk about ways that we tend to cope with chaos that are not necessarily the most healthiest, empowering ways too. So the first way that, and usually we kind of all fall into one of these 3 categories, they're kind of similar, but I want you to take note of which one sounds like it describes you. So the first way is by ignoring it, kind of pretending that it doesn't exist, you know, like that might look like if you're having chaos in your finances, in your financial life, that might mean just not looking at your bank account and not paying attention to expenses or anything like that, just sort of shutting it out and ignoring it. Sometimes that means numbing it out too, which we'll get into a little bit later. But the problem with this is that usually the things that we ignore tend to get our attention in undesirable ways. So that's not cool. And then the second way that we tend to deal with chaos is by battling it. You know, we kind of will try to battle against it, but often in other areas that are not even related to the main chaos we're dealing with. Like, for example, if you are getting, if you're in a fight with your spouse, or if you're angry at your kids or your family, you might notice yourself just like cleaning the kitchen vigorously or going shopping for a bunch of things you don't need, like kind of battling it and sort of trying to distract yourself from it. And this isn't either so great because, again, it's like distracting and avoiding, and we're going to talk more about what we're going to do instead. And then the third way is by drowning in it. I like to call this getting paralyzed and stuck and not moving through it. This is definitely my go-to coping mechanism for dealing with overwhelm, chaos, that kind of thing, because sometimes it just like paralyzes you. And this might look like just feeling overwhelmed, wallowing in it, getting super discouraged and even depressed about it, just wanting to hide in bed and like not deal with anything. So there's ignoring, battling, and drowning. And the problem is that not only are all 3 of these things kind of creating a breeding ground for unhealthy behaviors like emotional eating, or even, God forbid, other, like substance abuse things, but also it's kind of implying that you're in control. It's how you try to sort of control the situation. And the problem is that at the end of the day, we're not in control of the things and the circumstances in our life, like your toddler being sick, or your son not passing his test, or the teacher calling and yelling at you, or your husband getting fired from his job, or you getting sick. Like, those are all things that are not in your control. And it's scary to admit that those things are not in your control. But what is in your control is how you deal, how you cope, how we react when things and madness and chaos is going on, because that will make all the difference That's kind of the trick I'm going to teach you, is how you handle it does directly affect how and what is going on around you. So now we're going to dive into a couple of ways that I have used personally myself, that I definitely try to do, to help you to cope through really difficult, stressful times. So the first one that I want to talk about is reaching out for support and connection. I know that in my life, definitely in chaotic, stressful, hectic times, I tend to isolate. I tend to say that nobody understands me, nobody can get what I'm going through, I'm so alone, and shutting myself out. And that just kind of makes it worse and doesn't help. So the best thing you can do for yourself is find someone who you can confide in, who you can vent to, and just getting it out. Like, even if you're not practically doing anything to change the situation, just talking about it and knowing that you are not alone and having that support, whether that's a friend or a family member, or whether that's reaching out to support to someone like a therapist or a coach or a mentor, whatever that is. Because not only will it help you heal, but it will help you cope better, and you'll be able to have better tools to deal with the stress and hectic chaos. So that's number one, reaching out for support and connection. Number two is really hard for a lot of people, which is saying yes to and asking for help. I know a lot of us are really not good at that. I know that this used to be one of the hardest things for me, and still is sometimes, reaching out and telling someone that you need help. But I'm starting with talking about saying yes to help, because so often people are offering us help all the time, and we're just not taking them up on it. Or we just say, oh yeah, thanks, that's so sweet, absolutely, I'll reach out if I need help. But people really mean it, and I want you to think about if you had a friend who was going through the chaos and stress that you're going through, you'd want her to reach out to you. Like I know that I wouldn't want her to feel guilty or feel badly to reach out to me. So same with you. Your friends and your family are there for you, and they're meant to be reached out to. So do not be afraid to reach out for help, whether that's having someone make you a meal, whether that's having someone go to the grocery store, whether that's asking someone to watch your kids for an hour so you can just chill for a minute. That is super important, because you can't do it alone. And that kind of brings me into number three, which is learning to prioritize. We cannot have it all, ladies. You cannot have a clean house and have happy children and clean children and healthy dinners and lunches and breakfasts and go to work and be present with your kids and be present and have a great relationship with your husband while making Shabbos, while making Yantif, while sending your kids back to school. It does not work. And you will burn yourself out trying to do it all. And this is on a regular basis. Pretend there's no stress or hecticness happening. So you need to prioritize and say, what is important to me now? And letting go the other things that are not your priority. That is super important. So number three is prioritizing. And number four is to just breathe, to relax and take time for yourself, especially during hectic, stressful times. That may seem counterproductive. I think about times like as a wig stylist, like before the holidays, I am super nutso busy and hectic and stressed out and it's chaotic. But sometimes I need to just stop and take a break and relax, because you will be able to handle and deal with the chaos more effectively than when you're burnt out running on empty. So knowing that by you taking time for yourself to rest and recharge, that will help you better deal with to better deal with the chaos and the stress going on in your life. So I'm curious, first of all, which one of these ways seems like something you want to try out this week, or if you're going through a stressful time. I really want to encourage you to know that you can't do things alone and you can't do it all, and that we have to learn how to embrace the chaos and know that we can't control everything, but we can control how we react and how we cope. And that will directly affect what goes on, and that will affect our circumstances. So I would love to hear your feedback. Please send me a message or leave a comment with your biggest takeaway from this video. And I want to wish you guys an awesome Wednesday, and I appreciate you being here with me today to watch this, and we will see you next week. See you guys.